She pointed a cake knife at my pregnant belly, at her own baby shower, and hissed, "This is my day." That moment wasn't the start, it was the point of no return. I was stepping onto the stage at Buffalo University, fingers brushing the diploma I'd worked years to earn, when a scream cracked the air. My sister Sienna collapsed in the aisle, hyperventilating, hands to her throat. Paramedics rushed in. Ceremony over. If that sounds dramatic, it always is with Sienna. At my first piano recital, she fainted. On prom night, when I was crowned queen, she clutched her chest like she was mid-heart attack. Every milestone of mine somehow became her spotlight. 3 years later, an invitation arrived, Sienna's baby shower. I was sitting beside my husband Liam when a terrible, glittering idea took shape. I leaned in and whispered, "We're trying now." He blinked. "I thought we were waiting." "We're not." The timing mattered. 3 cycles to line up my news with her party, which was exactly 3 months away. Cycle 1, negative. I stared at that single line until it blurred. Cycle 2, negative again. By month 3, I was on an ultrasound table in a dark room when the tech went quiet, moved the wand, then smiled. "Congratulations, it's twins." I laughed out loud, not pretty, not noble, but honest. From that day, I turned into Sienna's loudest hype woman. I built her Instagram countdowns, stacked her guest list, triple-checked balloon arches and cake tiers. The more eyes on her big day, the better. Then she posted her baby name, Delphine Aurora, a name I'd written in a diary at 15, one I'd never told a soul. The only way she'd know, she'd snoop my room. Classic Sienna. The morning of the shower, I curled her hair while she preened in the mirror. "If only one of us got to be pregnant, I'm glad it's me," she said, all sugary sweet. "Even mom says I'm the prettier sister, better for the photos." I smoothed on her lipstick and said, "You deserve a perfect day." Inside, I thought, today writes itself. Backyard looked like a fever dream, pastel balloons, a towering 3-tier cake, the whole gender reveal spectacle, even though she'd already posted it was a girl. I wore a loose dress. If you stared, you could see the bump. No one stared. Till Sienna tugged Mom aside and stage whispered, "Look at Nora, she's huge." "If I didn't know better," Mom tittered. "You've always been the thin one, honey. Good thing for the photos." The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, pop. Pink confetti stormed the yard. "It's a girl." Cameras flashed. I was primed to make my announcement when my stomach lurched. Morning sickness of all times, I bolted to the bathroom. When I returned, faces tilted toward me. "Sorry," I blurted. "It's the twins, 6 weeks, and I can't keep anything down." The word twins detonated. "Twins?" Aunt squealed. The crowd surged, hands, questions, heat. "Identical, due date, do twins run in the family?" Sienna's face flushed pink, then red, then plum. "I can't breathe," she gasped, performing for the rafters. Even her husband was asking me about double strollers. Mom waved her off. "Not now, Sienna. Nora's having twins on her first try." Something snapped. Sienna snatched the cake knife and pointed it at my belly. "This is my day," wrenched it from her. It skittered under the dessert table. She collapsed, wailing, mascara carving black rivers down her cheeks. Phones rose like a choir, and then Mom stormed over and slapped me. The crack echoed, "You selfish witch." Liam took my hand. "We're leaving now." Slap burned, leaving my cheeks searing in a way I couldn't even process. The entire room froze, but nobody cared enough to check on me. Phones were out, people were recording it all like it was some kind of reality show. My own mother slapped me, and Sienna was still shrieking, her mascara running down her face like a train wreck. "Get up," Liam pulled me away from the chaos. "We're leaving right now." We headed for the door, but not before hearing Sienna's voice in the background screaming, "I always ruin everything. This was my day." There she was again, playing the victim, a toxic cycle that had been going on for years. And in that moment, as we hurried out, I could feel her eyes on me. Sienna had been obsessed with getting the spotlight for as long as I could remember, but that wasn't the worst part. No, the worst part was how everyone stood by and let it happen. As soon as we got into the car, I pulled my phone out. My social media notifications were going crazy. TikTok Instagram stories had gone viral, showing the meltdown at the party. Psycho Sister was trending. Everyone had an opinion. Some said I was wrong for announcing my pregnancy at Sienna's party, but most people were calling her out, saying she'd lost it. I scrolled through the comments. "This girl's got issues," one person wrote. "Mom needs therapy, the whole family's messed up." But there were also the trolls, people sending death threats, messages like, "You'll pay for ruining her day," or "You're the real monster here." I didn't need to hear any of it. I already had enough going on. The twins inside me were moving like crazy from all the stress, and I just wanted to escape. Liam turned to me, his face drained of color. "Maybe we should stay with my parents for a few days just to be safe." "No," I shook my head, feeling a surge of defiance. "I'm not letting her run me out of my own home." But then, just when I thought I could breathe again, the doorbell rang. It was 7:00 a.m. I didn't even have time to react before Liam was jumping out of bed, peeking through the peephole. "It's Carol," he said, his voice tight. "She's not leaving." I could hear her pounding on the door, her sobs echoing through the hallway. Liam told me to stay back, but I couldn't help it. I stood behind him, trying to hear through the door. Carol's voice was shrill, panicked. "You need to take those videos down right now. You've ruined her life. You've destroyed this family." Her fist slammed against the door over and over. I could feel the walls closing in as she screamed. "You're evil," she yelled, "always trying to tear your sister apart, always jealous. She deserves better than this." I just stood there, my heart racing, too stunned to speak. I knew Carol wasn't the easiest person, but this was something else. She was practically having a breakdown. I could hear the neighbors coming out of their apartments, watching us, Mrs. from next door, holding her phone up. Carol saw all the attention and screamed louder. "She's been planning this. She's always wanted to ruin Sienna." It was like everything I'd been trying to keep inside was spilling out of her. "Stop it, Carol," Liam shouted. "You need to leave right now or I'll call the police." It was hard to take in. I never thought things would escalate to this point. my own family torn apart by jealousy, lies, and all of Sienna's drama. Carol eventually backed off, still yelling from the hallway, promising I'd regret everything. The chaos didn't stop. After she finally left, my phone rang. I could hear how exhausted he sounded. She's in the hospital, Nora. They're worried about her blood pressure. She's been crying for hours. I can't, I muttered, shaking my head. I can't deal with this right now. But begged, please just talk to us. Maybe we can work this out. I'm setting up a family meeting in 2 days. You don't have to agree with her. Just come. I hesitated, only if it's somewhere public, and Liam is coming with me. Agreed, but I could feel the weight of it. The mess, the drama. I had enough of it all, but there was one thing I knew for sure. This wasn't over. 2 days passed and I couldn't shake the dread. I was barely keeping it together and the stress was beginning to show. I made an emergency appointment with my OB-GYN, desperate to know how the twins were doing. The waiting room was packed. I couldn't help but notice the women whispering, pointing at me. One of them had her phone out, probably taking pictures or filming me, most likely from the viral videos circulating online. And I was finally called back. The ultrasound tech was quiet, moving the wand over my belly like she was searching for something. When she finished, she said nothing. Then Dr. Torres walked in, checking the screens before saying, "The twins are fine, but this level of stress isn't healthy. It's dangerous for all of you." I felt the weight of her words like a punch to the gut. She gave me a prescription for anxiety medication and told me to avoid any more confrontations. But there was no avoiding the storm brewing with my family. The meeting was set for 2 days later at an Italian restaurant downtown, somewhere public where things couldn't spiral out of control, hopefully. I didn't know if I was ready to face them, but I sure as hell wasn't going to sit around and let the mess get worse. When we arrived, Sienna, Carol, and were already seated at a table in the back. The moment I walked in, I could feel the tension in the air. Sienna looked like she hadn't slept in days, pale, with dark circles under her eyes, but her makeup was flawless. Her eyes were fixed on me, as if daring me to say something, to do anything. I sat down, my heart pounding, and before I could even say a word, Carol jumped straight into it. "You need to apologize for what you did," she demanded, her voice shaking with anger. "You need to admit you planned all of this to hurt Sienna." I blinked, trying to absorb her words. Was she serious? Sienna was playing the victim, as usual, wiping fake tears away with dramatic flair. "She's always been jealous of me," she sniffled. "I'm prettier, more loved by everyone. She can't stand it." It was like I wasn't even a person in my own life anymore. I felt invisible. Who had been sitting quietly next to Sienna, looked at me with sympathy, but when Sienna made her claim, he flinched. I caught it, his subtle reaction, but he stayed silent. Trying to be the voice of reason, spoke up. "Let's all just calm down. We're family. We've got to get past this." But Carol wasn't having it. "You traumatized my daughter," she snapped at him. "She's pregnant. You should be protecting her." As if this was my fault, as if I was the one making everything so hard. That's when Sienna pulled a thick envelope from her purse and slid it across the table, her lips curled into that nasty, smug smirk of hers. "I'm suing you," she said, her voice cold and calculating, "for emotional distress. You've endangered my baby. My lawyer thinks I have a solid case. I could win big." I stared at the envelope for a beat. This was no longer a family fight. This was war. Liam's hand shot up immediately, reaching for his phone. He called his cousin Emma, who happened to be a family lawyer. When Sienna heard him talking to an actual attorney, her smirk faltered. She was unprepared for that kind of response. We left the restaurant with Carol still yelling threats behind us. She had no shame, no filter, and no limits. I was stunned. I couldn't believe how far it had all gone. It felt like the ground beneath me was crumbling. Next evening, Grace, my best friend, showed up at our door with a bottle of wine for Liam and a tub of chocolate ice cream for me. She'd seen the videos online, every single one of them, and she was worried. She sat on our couch, scrolling through her phone, and then showed me something that sent a chill down my spine. Grace had been quietly documenting Sienna's behavior over the years. She had photos from my high school graduation where Sienna faked an illness to steal my moment. There were screenshots from my college acceptance party where she claimed she had chest pains. She even had posts from my engagement dinner where Sienna had a sudden allergic reaction that no one could explain. Grace had been gathering evidence for years without telling me. The things she'd seen with her own eyes, the way Sienna constantly took the spotlight, it wasn't just jealousy anymore. It was a pattern, a destructive one. I felt nauseous looking at it all. A week later, Emma came over to review the lawsuit. She read through the papers with a sense of disbelief and started laughing. "This is ridiculous," she said. "It's a frivolous case. It's going to get tossed out, but we have to fight back." She suggested we file a countersuit for the assault. After all, Carol had slapped me in front of everyone. There were witnesses, the videos, the photos, it was all documented. Emma also recommended we sue for the threats Sienna had made about our bobbies, especially the footage of her screaming that she was going to make sure I lost mine too. For the first time in days, I felt like there was a chance for justice. I wasn't alone in this fight anymore. We filed the paperwork to get a restraining order, and Emma came with us to the courthouse. She brought all the evidence, screenshots of the threatening messages, the videos, witness statements. When the judge saw everything, he granted us a temporary restraining order, prohibiting both Carol and Sienna from coming within 500 feet of us. It covered our home, Daniel's workplace, and even my doctor's office. But the drama didn't stop there. Within 48 hours, Carol violated the restraining order. She showed up at Daniel's office building and tried to push past security. They called the police and Carol was arrested. She fought with them the whole way, screaming that I had ruined everything. It was like she was completely unhinged. To make matters worse, Daniel's boss called him in for a meeting. The company was concerned about the situation, so they suggested that Daniel work from home until it was resolved. So Daniel set up his office in our spare bedroom. At that point, we were all just trying to survive. I woke up one morning at 3 a.m. to strange noises outside our bedroom window. My heart pounded in my chest as I peeked through the blinds. There, across the street, was Sienna's car. She was sitting in the driver's seat, staring directly at our apartment building, unmoving. She sat there for hours, just watching. I couldn't sleep, couldn't shake the fear. Every time the wind moved a branch, I jumped. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was something darker. By the time we installed security cameras the next morning, the damage was already done. I couldn't stop thinking, when would this madness end? Things took a darker turn when the weeks went by and Sienna's obsession with me only grew. The tension in the house was unbearable. Liam and I spent most of our time on edge. Every knock on the door made my heart stop. Every car that slowed down near our apartment made me check the windows. Was it her? Would she show up again? I couldn't even walk to the mailbox without feeling like I was being watched. Worst part, the constant stress was starting to affect my pregnancy. Dr. Torres kept warning me that I had to get my anxiety under control or I might not make it to full term. I was only 20 weeks along, but every time I saw Sienna's car parked across the street or heard her name in the news, I felt like I was being suffocated. And came the morning I'll never forget. I was lying in bed when Liam's phone rang. He answered quickly, his face going white. His voice was frantic as he explained what was happening. Liam, it's bad, it's really bad. He called to tell us that Sienna had been admitted to the hospital. Apparently, she'd been claiming to be pregnant again. And worse, she was convinced that I had stolen her bobbies, and now, according to, she was convinced that the twins inside me were hers. She tried to tell the doctors she was carrying twins, Liam. She even said the names we picked for the bobbies, said, she's losing it. I couldn't wrap my head around it. How had things escalated this far? Liam, always the calm one, turned to me. We need to report this. It's not just harassment anymore. She's dangerous, Nora. She's getting worse. At afternoon, Emma came by to meet with us. She was the lawyer who had been helping us through this nightmare. She sat down, spreading a pile of legal documents across the coffee table. I've been doing some digging, Emma said, and things are going to get uglier before they get better. Melissa, Sienna has a history of mental health issues, but this obsession with your pregnancy, it's escalating, and it's not just emotional distress anymore, Nora. We might be dealing with something criminal. I was numb. I didn't even know how to respond. How could my sister, someone I grew up with, become someone I feared? How had it gone from birthday parties and family gatherings to restraining orders and police reports? But what shook me more than anything was when Emma slid a set of screenshots across the table. It was a record of every time Sienna had crossed a line, and there, staring me in the face, were messages from Sienna to her husband. They were threats, veiled but clear. I will take them from her. She's not fit to be a mother. They don't deserve to grow up with her. And even more chilling, I'll get my revenge. I'll make sure of it. I felt sick. Sienna had been planning this for months, maybe longer. Every step of the way, she had been preparing to tear me down, but this felt like something much darker. As the night went on, Liam and I discussed what to do next. It was clear now we couldn't just sit back anymore. The fight had become about protecting the twins, our children, and protecting our sanity. But just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. The next day, I got an alert on my phone. It was a post from Sienna on Facebook, of course. She made it public, and within hours, it was everywhere. My sister, Nora, has been stalking me. She's been following me, sending me threatening messages. She's trying to take what's mine. She posted pictures she had edited of me standing outside her house, pictures I hadn't even known were taken. She included fake text messages, ones that never existed, saying I had threatened her and the baby. Didn't take long before the trolls found her post. My phone started buzzing nonstop. My inbox was flooded with death threats and hateful comments. People who didn't know me, who didn't know the truth, were telling me that I was a monster, that I deserved to be punished for what I had done to Sienna. I showed Liam and he was livid. This is cyberstalking, it's harassment, she's trying to destroy you online. We couldn't stay silent anymore. We had no choice but to go to the authorities. Liam reached out to the FBI, but not before my blood pressure shot up again. I was terrified. I felt trapped. Not only was Sienna trying to destroy me emotionally, now she was trying to ruin my reputation online. I couldn't even go outside without the fear of seeing my own face plastered all over the internet, twisted into something ugly. The next day, Dr. Torres put me on modified bed rest. I don't want you to leave the house unless it's for medical appointments, she said. You're under too much stress, Nora. Your twins need you to stay calm. At night, I sat in bed staring at the ceiling, trying to quiet my mind. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart skipped. Another hateful comment, another threatening message. I wanted to scream to make it all stop, but the thing was, I didn't know how to stop it. Sienna had pushed us into this corner, and she wasn't going to let up. Weeks passed, and the pressure was unbearable. Emma was working overtime on the defamation lawsuit. She documented everything, every comment, every post, every threat, but it was more than just the legal side. My anxiety was at an all-time high. I couldn't stop thinking about the bobbies. Then, just when I thought we couldn't take another blow, the next bombshell dropped. The police came to our door. A knock on the door felt like a punch to the gut. I hadn't been expecting the police. The whole situation had already spiraled so far out of control, I didn't know what to expect next. Liam opened the door, his expression hardening when he saw who it was. "We need to talk to you," one of the officers said, stepping inside. My heart raced. "About what?" Liam asked, his tone guarded. "About the threats," the officer replied. "We've been monitoring the situation and there's something we need to address." I froze. The threats had escalated, sure, but now it was real. It wasn't just the harassment online anymore. This was something serious. The officer continued, "We've received reports about illegal access to medical records. Your sister's been involved in something much bigger than we initially thought." I felt a chill sweep over me. Sienna, she had already crossed every line, but this was worse than anything I could have imagined. They were talking about criminal activity. Liam stepped in, keeping his composure. "What exactly are you saying?" "The hospital," the officer said, "has reported that someone has been accessing your personal medical records without authorization. It looks like your sister was getting information about your pregnancy from a hospital employee. We have a suspect." I couldn't breathe. My own sister. "She's been getting your ultrasound results, your appointments," the officer continued. "We have a lead, but we need to investigate further." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them everything, to expose the lies, the manipulation, the pure insanity of it all. But what was the point? Sienna had already done her worst, and now she had involved someone on the inside, someone who worked at the hospital. Later that night, Emma called. She'd heard about the investigation. "We need to file a police report. This isn't just harassment anymore. This is illegal, and once we do, I'm pressing charges. We need to make sure you and the twins are safe." My hands shook as I dialed the number to report the crime. It felt like the walls were closing in on me. There was no way to escape this madness, and yet Sienna kept going. It was like she was determined to destroy me, no matter what the cost. The next day, the truth came out. It wasn't just Sienna. His wife had been the one accessing my medical records. The hospital's IT team had traced the logins 17 times in the last month. 17 times had broken the law. When found out, it was like the ground dropped out from under him. I could hear it in his voice when he called. "I don't know how to process this," he said. "Was helping Sienna, I never knew." I felt sick, had been complicit in this. She was the one who had betrayed me, who had allowed Sienna to get the information she wanted to fuel her obsession, was the one who made sure Sienna stayed on top of every little detail of my pregnancy. She'd been feeding her, keeping the lies alive, making it worse. And it was the whole family. I wasn't just dealing with Sienna anymore. Now, his wife was involved too. I felt betrayed more than ever. I was devastated. "I had no idea," he repeated over and over. But the truth was, he should have known. He had to have seen the signs, but I didn't have time for that. I had to focus on my family, the one I was building with Liam, the one I had to protect now more than ever. Then, just when I thought I was starting to understand the depths of the chaos, things took another sharp turn. Texted me he was sorry again, but this time it wasn't just about apologizing for his wife's behavior. It was about something much more disturbing. "I found something, Nora. I need to talk to you. It's about Sienna," he wrote. I called him immediately. His voice was shaky when he picked up. "I found a notebook, Nora," he said, his words coming out in quick bursts. "It's been hidden in Sienna's closet, pages and pages of plans to destroy you." Plans to destroy me? I could barely wrap my head around it. Sienna had been keeping a book, a record of all the ways she intended to hurt me. "She's been plotting for years," continued, "writing out everything she could do to ruin your life. Prom night, your college acceptance, she planned everything. Every major moment, she's written out how to sabotage it." I couldn't breathe. I was sick. The weight of it all crushed me. This wasn't just sibling rivalry. It wasn't just jealousy. It was calculated, twisted, a clear desire to destroy everything I had worked for. Went on, the things she wrote, it's beyond obsession. It's insane and it's dangerous. Nora, I'm scared for her. The notebook wasn't just filled with cruel words. There were lists of ways she could ruin my big moments, drawing pictures of me in tears. She had even written about how she could manipulate people to get what she wanted. She had detailed plans about how to wreck my life, page after page of her twisted vision of revenge. I was shaking uncontrollably. This was beyond what I had imagined. I had to stop it. I couldn't let this continue. It sounded desperate. "I'm meeting with a custody lawyer tomorrow. I need your help. I'm filing for emergency custody of Delphine. It's getting dangerous, Nora. This isn't just about your pregnancy anymore. She's unstable." I couldn't agree more. As the days dragged on, everything started to feel like it was falling apart faster than I could process. His text haunted me. He was filing for emergency custody of his daughter Delphine, but as the truth about Sienna's obsession unfolded, it became more and more clear that this wasn't just about me anymore. The stakes were rising, and now even my nephew was caught in the chaos. I was terrified, and I didn't blame him. Sienna's behavior had become erratic, and it seemed like she was spiraling further every day. I couldn't sit back and watch anymore, not with the bobbies on the way, not when everything I had worked for was on the line. Police were taking our case more seriously now, especially after they'd uncovered his involvement. She was fired from her job at the hospital, and the hospital was cooperating with the investigation. But there was a sickening realization that kept echoing in my mind. This wasn't just a family dispute anymore, it was criminal. The morning after told me about the notebook, we were all hit with more bad news. The police had found that Sienna had somehow accessed our home security system. How had she done that? Had she been sneaking around for months, getting in and out of our personal space without us even knowing? Liam and I spent hours going over every detail, every decision we'd made. Could we have done something differently? Was there any way to avoid this spiraling mess? I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that it had gone from a few petty fights between sisters to something so dangerous. My heart was racing, and the twins were kicking constantly, as if they could feel my stress too. And then, just when I thought I couldn't handle another blow, the phone call came, the one I never expected. It was from... I found something else, he said, his voice shaky. A letter from Mom. She's finally admitting it. She's finally admitting what she's done. My breath caught in my throat. Admitting what? Mom's been living through Sienna, explained. She's been jealous of you, Nora. She's been jealous because you've made something of yourself without her help, without her controlling everything. She's been enabling Sienna's behavior all these years, and now it's all coming out. I couldn't believe it. My mom, the woman who had raised us, the woman who had always played the role of the protector, the one who promised she'd have our backs no matter what, said she's been trying to control everything, and she's been doing it through Sienna. She feels like you've always overshadowed her. She's even admitted to doing things that have made everything worse between you two. She's sorry. She says she's always been sorry, but it's too late now, Nora. I felt the weight of his words crushing me. My mom was apologizing, but it was a hollow apology. She couldn't take back the years of enabling. She couldn't take back the damage she had caused. I was numb, but at the same time, my heart ached for the sister I used to know, the girl I grew up with who would laugh at my jokes, share everything with me, who would fight by my side when the world seemed against us. Now, she was a stranger who wanted to destroy me. I had to remind myself this wasn't my fault. I hadn't done anything wrong. All I'd ever wanted was to live my life peacefully without the constant drama, but I'd been dragged into a nightmare and it wasn't over yet. I couldn't let it consume me. I couldn't let her win. 2 days later, texted me with another shocking update. He had filed for emergency custody. The custody battle had officially begun and was determined to do whatever it took to protect Delphine from Sienna, from everything Sienna had done to me to the obsession that had now become dangerous for everyone. And the worst part, it didn't stop there. Sienna kept trying to make herself a victim. She was still posting lies online, still twisting the truth, still trying to manipulate anyone who would listen. This time, though, it was different. We had proof. We had the legal support. We had Emma. His next message made my hands shake. They found something else in her purse, a journal. It's full of plans, detailed, crazy plans about how to steal Delphine, how to manipulate people, how to get me to lose my daughter. We're filing for an emergency hearing. I had to take a deep breath before replying. It felt like the walls were closing in again. Every step I took to protect my bobbies, to stop Sienna's madness, felt like one step closer to breaking. At night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the ways Sienna had hurt me, all the lies, all the manipulation. I couldn't believe it had come to this, but then I thought of my twins, my bobbies. I had to stay strong. No matter how hard this got, I couldn't let them see me falter. Everything came to a head sooner than expected. The legal battle was intensifying, but the real bombshell came from an unexpected direction. Sienna, despite all the warning signs, had escalated her behavior even further. The police had warned us, but nothing could prepare us for the next move she would make. It all started when I received a phone call in the middle of the night. I had just finally drifted off to sleep after another exhausting day of dealing with the legal paperwork and endless stress. The sound of my phone ringing was sharp and jarring. Liam answered it before I could even sit up, his voice low and filled with dread. It's the police. They found her. I felt my heart race. Found who? Sienna, Liam said. His words were a punch to the gut. She's been trying to break into our house. Couldn't believe it. Sienna, after everything, she reached a new level of obsession. The police had found her trying to access our home, and this time it wasn't just a vague threat or an online rant. She was actively trying to come for us. I felt the blood drain from my face. Sienna was no longer just a toxic presence in my life. She had crossed the line into something more dangerous. She was trying to destroy my family. She was trying to take everything I had. My mind raced as I tried to process the fear. What would she do next? Police told us they were setting up a stronger presence around our neighborhood. The restraining order was still in place, but it wasn't enough to keep her away. She was relentless. Liam and I spent the next few hours on the phone with our lawyer, Emma, as she guided us through what steps we needed to take. We needed to get to the courthouse again, but this time, it wasn't just about the baby shower or the harassment. This was about protecting my children, about ensuring that Sienna couldn't hurt them, couldn't reach them. We filed for an emergency hearing to extend the restraining order. We needed to make sure that Sienna couldn't come anywhere near us. Emma was our rock during this time. She worked tirelessly to get all the necessary documents in place, providing us with every legal option available. The hearing was set for the next morning, but the waiting felt endless. Liam and I barely spoke. There was so much to process, so much uncertainty. I couldn't focus on anything other than the constant fear that something terrible could happen. The twins kicked inside me, almost as if they knew something was wrong. At the courthouse, we faced the same cold, sterile rooms filled with lawyers, security, and judges. I felt like a stranger in this world. I had never wanted to be here, never wanted to fight my own flesh and blood in court. But there I was, standing with Liam, with Emma, fighting for my children's future. Sienna was there too. She was sitting in the back of the courtroom, her eyes wide and frantic, looking like she had no idea what was happening. But I knew better. I knew she was playing a game I was tired of playing. The judge listened to our side of the story. He looked over the evidence, listened to the testimonies, the police reports, the medical records, the online harassment. It was clear Sienna was dangerous. Her mental state had deteriorated, and it was only a matter of time before her actions escalated again. After what felt like hours, the judge finally spoke. "I am extending the restraining order," he said. "Sienna must remain at least 500 feet away from the plaintiff, Nora, and her family. There will be no contact whatsoever." I exhaled a sigh of relief mixed with frustration. The legal battle was far from over, but at least for now we had won a small victory. Sienna had been stopped. However, that relief was short-lived. As we walked out of the courtroom, I caught a glimpse of. He was holding Delphine in his arms, his face lined with exhaustion. He nodded at me, a silent acknowledgement of everything we had been through. "I've got something for you," said quietly, his voice heavy. He handed me a small envelope. Inside was a letter from Sienna's psychiatric team. She had been transferred to a long-term facility, but in her letter, she expressed her sincere apology. I wanted to laugh, but I felt no humor in it. She had apologized for the destruction she had caused, for all the lies, the manipulation, and the damage she had done to our family. But that wasn't enough. It would never be enough. His face was somber as he looked at me. "She's still sick, Nora, but I'm done with her." The weight of it all hit me then. Done. Maybe I wasn't there yet, but I understood what he meant. We couldn't keep living like this. We couldn't keep going back and forth with a family that was broken beyond repair. And so we did what we had to do. We left it all behind. Liam, the twins, and I packed up our lives and moved to Seattle. We found a quiet neighborhood, a peaceful home, and a fresh start, a place where the echoes of the past couldn't touch us. The twins grew, they thrived, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. There were no more threats, no more chaos, no more lies. And though the scars remained, we rebuilt, one day at a time. A year later, I sat at the park with Liam, watching the twins play. They were laughing, running through the grass, carefree. A woman sitting on the bench next to me smiled and said, "You have a beautiful family." And for the first time, I believed it. We had built something real, something untouched by the storm, something that was ours. I finally understood what the real revenge was, a life lived in peace, away from the toxic chaos that had once been my family, a life with love. And that, in the end, was everything.